sometimes look at maps and just imagine what's out there? Me too. Let me show you something. Isn't whispering the most awful noise? A couple of years ago I made a map looking for the most remote, wild, pristine places in the province of Ontario. It wasn't a fancy or scientific analysis at all, but I think the results are pretty logical. The point of the analysis was to produce the results on a map, and that's what I'm going to show you here. So the map is called No Trace, and it's about finding Ontario's most pristine wilderness. I briefly discussed the methodology that went into this, and please don't analyze this on any kind of artistic level. I am not artistic at all, so don't even look at it through that lens. So the map is based on this scale here of green to red, green being wild and completely undeveloped, red, deep red, being highly developed. Just going to turn off some of the noise here, and we're just going to look at the overview. Pretty logical result, right? You've got some obvious administrative boundaries here. You've got Algonquin Provincial Park, Puckasaw National Park. This is my personal little slice of heaven in here. I live right there. Quetico, Wabakimi, Woodland Caribou. Some of the most wild places here are very evidently green. Of course, in southern Ontario, you've got lots of red, even around Sudbury, Sault Ste. Marie, Timmins, Thunder Bay. Still plenty of development out there. It's not all wild up here in the north. So the map is then divided into southern Ontario, central Ontario, and then northern Ontario over on this side. Obviously, if you're looking for wilderness, this is not your go-to spot. Interestingly, the agricultural part of southern Ontario has got some decent green in there. Algonquin is pretty green, but Highway 60, that corridor, is just a mess of development. Moving north, you get some of these nice pockets again, Temagami, Algoma, and then over in the northwest is really about as good as it gets. Sure, a lot of this looks just amazing, but good luck getting to any of it. You got the noticeable ring of fire here, lots of mining interests in here. Most of the activity you're seeing here, the network, is either related to First Nations communities or to mining development. So if you're ever wondering what kind of wilderness you're dealing with as you plan a trip, you can consult this map. I'll put a link in the description. There'll be an image and a PDF. So that's the map in a nutshell, but while we're on the subject of maps, I'll show you a few other mapping resources to help you plan trips. So I'll go over these three resources quickly. There's the MODIS sensor on a satellite that provides imagery of the Great Lakes. There's NRCan's Toporama, and then the EFMP, Electronic Forest Management Plan website. MODIS's Imagery, which is hosted by NOAA, an American agency, is something I mostly use at this time of year, which is spring. This gives you satellite imagery of most of Ontario and the Great Lakes on a daily basis. Here is yesterday's imagery, but this one is quite obscured by cloud. This one is as well, but here, 2 days ago, there's a nice clear image, so we'll check this one out. It starts off zoomed way in, so you're going to want to just pull it back and then locate your spot. So here's the north shore of Superior, rapidly breaking up. I'm going to look in this area here, which is where I plan to be for my ice out trip. Still looking like some ice in there. There's a bit of an ice bridge out to the Slade Islands there, but overall it's clearing up quite well. The second one is Toporama. There's one thing I specifically like about this website, which is that if you click Map Layers in Legend, I'm just going to zoom in first before I turn on this, Water Flow. So this shows you the flow direction, which can be really useful if you are thinking about including a river or creek in your trip and you're not sure which way it flows. There are other ways you can tell, such as contours will always point upstream, or if you know where the height of land is, that will tell you as well. But if you just want the most obvious indication of which way a watercourse is flowing, here is the French River and the Pickerel River. They are both flowing west to Georgian Bay. I just find this really helpful for little creeks, especially on my route, which are unknowns and I may not know which way they're flowing. Lots of other stuff on here, but that's what I come to Toporama for. The third one is the EFMP. Here you can get information, maps on Ontario's forest management units, which stretches down into southern Ontario, includes Algonquin. Yes, Algonquin is logged. Some people aren't aware of that. But most provincial and national parks are not. In fact, I think almost all of them are not, except for Algonquin. So let's go into Kenogami Forest. Just click on it on the map. This is a really big forest management unit. Scroll down, you'll see this is the FMP level data. So you've got final plan phase 1, which is the first 5 years of this 10-year period, and then final plan phase 2, which is the second 5 years of the 10-year period. This is where we're going to want to come, but first I'll just tell you what's over here. So annual work schedule is what's happening in that forest management unit in the current year. Annual report is what was done during this period on that forest management unit. I'll click on annual work schedule and I'll expand maps. The summary is not much good, doesn't provide any level of detail, but you might find something interesting here. The index map, if you download it, this will give you a broad look at the forest, and these little numbers here are the OBM, this grid. They're the labels for each square. So if you want to look at a specific area and see what kind of forestry activities are going on there, or to see what kind of roads are in that area for forestry, you'll reference this number, whatever square you want, and then open up the corresponding map. You'll see the number again here. It's indicated in this 5-digit series here. And then when you open up that map, you'll get more detailed information on that square on the index map. But what I really want to show you on this resource is Final Plan Phase 2, or whatever the most recent one is. In this case it is 2. Click on Maps here, and then Values. Here you can find some interesting maps. Fisheries and wetlands is always a good one. Resource-based tourism, also good information. Wildlife and forestry has some cool stuff too. I'll open up the first one here. This forest management unit is broken up into 3 because it's so large. So on this map, this one shows fisheries information. You can get some neat stuff. Fish nursery areas, spawning areas, which you should always respect. Don't abuse them just because you know where they are. It shows you whether lakes and rivers are cold water, cool water, and warm water, which will help you identify what kind of species are going to be in that water course or water body. Some migration routes are shown on here. Anyways, things like that. If you enjoy the act of planning a trip, you might enjoy looking at resources like this. Well, it's almost April. Softwater season's right around the corner. If you're like me, you're spending a lot of time planning trips, and I hope these resources help you do that.